Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kurt, and welcome to episode 286 of Farlands or Bust. Boop, and a boop. And we are out here, we have our, ooh, that's a dangerous place to be. We have our artificial beach that we made for Wolfie to sit on, for he needed solid ground. Woof, he did indeed. But let's grab him. Let's get rid of some of this cobble. I'm running out of dirt. I need some dirt. We can get some of that eventually. I suppose we could get some right here if we really wanted to. We really want to. So let's get some wooden planks I need, and then I'll grab some dirt because I need some for the elevated hidey holes. But yes, we're back. Farlands or Bust. Like I said, episode 286. Today is Friday. August 23rd. I have written down on my notes 21st. Because I didn't change the st from the 21st. But yes, 23rd. August 23rd, Friday, 2013. Wolfie is pushing us along the way here. Let's get going because he's impatient. And today we raised an additional $100 since the last episode. We're at $42,510. For Child's Play charity. Hey sheep, what you doing? For Child's Play charity over at farlandsorbust.com. I do appreciate all of the donations, helping get toys, books, and games to kids in hospitals around the world. I said that right. I thought I was saying trying to get kids to toys, books, and games in hospitals around the world, but no, it's the reverse. We're doing that through Child's Play charity. That's a good cause. And all the questions. You can ask a question with your donation in the little comments field, and I will try to get to it in an episode of Farlands or Bust. It gives me something to talk about because there is a lot of potential dead air when we are walking to the far lands. They are far, far, far away. And I did get a few questions, speaking of that, about the series, Farlands or Bust, how long it will take, etc. From Overdosed Melon asked, what are your current in-game coordinates? And how many more episodes do you think there will be before you reach the Farlands? Well, Overdosed Melon, I first of all thank you very much for donating to Child's Play charity, even though you appear to be new to the series and not know some of the hooks, the themes that we have going on here. But I do not know my coordinates because I am not pressing F3 until we raise $100,000 this season of Farlands or Bust. That is our goal. Previous goals last year was $29,220. And then before that was $8,200. There goes the shears. The shears have been shorn. And then before that, $820. But that's the thing. I'm not pressing F3 until we reach the goal. That's the incentive. The main incentive to raise that much money to help Child's Play charity. And of course, at the end of that, we've commonly held Flobathon, a live stream marathon of Farlands or Bust, which is a good time indeed. But we're trying to do that, so that's why I don't press F3. I don't press F3 away from the camera either, so I don't personally know. It's always a welcome surprise for me when we get to raise the goal for Child's Play charity and then press F3. It's an exciting moment for me as well. So you can look at the previous Flobathon marathon archive that I've uploaded to YouTube. And you can watch that moment again. It's also a highlight, I believe. I took that out and kind of highlighted it separately, where we found a point. The last, this is based on 2 times this has happened after a Flobathon weekend. I'm pressing F3. We find a point, an interesting, careful Wolfie, an interesting landmark perhaps, and I choose, say, oh, this is the block I will press F3 on. Therefore, it's been determined. These are the coordinates, not one forward, not one back, but those are the coordinates, and then I gather everyone round, and we press F3 together and experience that together. The first time, it was 292,202. Woof. That means we were 292 1,000 blocks from spawn, and at the end of the last season, we were 699,492, so almost 700,000 blocks from spawn. There was a point, maybe it was a good 20 episodes ago, 15 to 20 episodes ago, where we noticed the jitteriness suddenly get a lot worse all of a sudden. And that's been estimated that is when the floating point, the decimal, went 1 over. So that means that is at least 1 million. So that could have been the point where we crossed 1 million. It's not exactly a specific round number like that. People have been trying to explain it has to deal with the bits and bytes and the ones and zeros and the 32 8-bit whatever, you know. It's you know, just like 1 gigabyte of data isn't specifically 1,000 megabytes. So that sort of thing. But there have been estimations, so we certainly have... Sorry, this noise is of interest. It sounds like one zombie. Yes, it is. Hello, one zombie. How are you? Doing a dance? Disco zombie. Disco zombie. Like disco stew, you know, Simpsons reference. So yeah, that's what that is all about. Hi, this is not how you use a boat. I'm walking on water. That's not what that's about. What was I saying? Oh yeah, we don't know how much longer we have to go. There have been estimations, calculations about how many episodes it will take at my current pace. Could be into the thousands of episodes. It's possible. I don't know, and I don't mind. I have taken this upon me, and I will see it to fruition. I don't know. We might never technically make it, but I'm doing it in vanilla Minecraft. This is beta 1.7.3. I do that because updating to the newer versions, they changed the terrain generation, and in doing so, that got rid of the far lands proper. So I never updated. It was a good choice, I believe, because I feel like this series makes people a little bit nostalgic for the old 1.7.3, the beta terrain generation, as we're calling it, because when they went to 1.8 beta, that technically is the terrain generation that went forward through 1.0 and onward. There have been changes since then, obviously, with the addition of jungles and structures and things, other biomes changes and rivers and things like that, but it was the 1.8 beta update that really changed the terrain in a way that the far lands are no longer a thing. So that's why we're still doing it here. So I don't know when. That's part of the mystery and the excitement about Far Lands or Bust. When I first set off on this journey, I had no idea how long it would take. If I had known, maybe I wouldn't have gone, because it seems indeed like an impossible task. But for every impossible task, there is someone willing to try to make it possible. I don't know, that was supposed to be some sort of inspirational quote, but it kind of failed halfway through. We'll deal with it. Just forget that ever happened. Gosh, well, this boat really just wants to be a surfboard. Surfboard boat! Similarly, somebody donated and asked, Carson, I've been wondering this for a long time, but what in the hell made you want to walk to the far lands? I'm imagining that's how he asked that question. Carson, I don't know. It was one of those things. I much prefer the adventure-y, the explory part of Minecraft, as opposed to, say, the building or the creative or the redstone, that sort of aspect of Minecraft. I've always enjoyed the exploration. On the first day I played Minecraft, I, instead of sticking around spawn, just started to go for a run. Just went for a little journey and explored a bit until I found a cool place to actually sit down and build, but it really ended up just being a little shack and stuff like that. Much like I play on the Minecraft server, I never really know what to do there because I'm not much of a builder, but instead exploring is my thing, so that definitely led to it. It was good timing as well, because I started my Let's Play series at pretty much the same time that Notch first wrote a blog post about the terrain generation, and he mentioned his knowledge of these kind of glitchy mathematical errors that happen after a certain point, and he coined the term far lands, and that became part of the Minecraft mythos, I guess you could say. So it was good timing. It was interest. It was the fact that I didn't really want to do, a traditional Let's Play like everybody else. I am very interested in the random terrain generation, it always felt very unique. This is my world. These are my terrains that I'm experiencing, and as we continue walking, we pass them by, and we will never see them again. It's a little poetic, I guess. But let's go to sleep, and in the morning, we'll continue. And we are going to continue. Whoop-ah. Oh, I made a boat, didn't I? So yeah, that I hope answers that question. It's hard to say. I didn't have any specific reason. I didn't start it out with the Child's Play charity thing. That came to my mind afterwards, after I'm like, this is kind of that was after I realized how long of a walk it was. I realized this is more of like a walk-a-thon thing. I could use people were coming and checking it out and subscribing. It was sort of becoming what I could call the claim to YouTube popularity here a little bit. I'm like, I should use this power for good. And thus we have, and you guys have. We've raised over $125,000 total for Child's Play charity since we started taking charity for Far Lands or Bust, through Far Lands or Bust, excuse me. So that craziness, but I'm very glad, and it is still my favorite thing to be doing here on my channel on YouTube. From Scoops, with their donation, Scoops asked, "Hey Kurt, what's the longest you've ever had to wait for Wolfie to bark?" At the beginning of an episode, it's just one of these little things I started doing. I started to wait for Wolfie to woof before I do the hello, ladies and gentlemen, spiel and things. There have been a couple times where it's taken a long time. Or maybe he's out of earshot. I do sometimes when that happens. There was one episode a while ago where it was like a good minute, and I got a few comments where people were like, I thought my sound was dead, so I turned my sound way up, and then suddenly he barked and you said hello and blew out my eardrum. So I try not to, for the sake of that might be bad video. I try not to let it go on too much, so if it does, I might edit out a few, some time beforehand. To make sure it's not too much of a wait for you guys to start the episode. It also kind of does burn through some of the sunrise, so we lose a little bit of time walking if I have to wait too long for him to walk. But I don't know. You'll have to maybe consult the history of Far Lands or Bust. But it could be up there into 30 seconds or so, at least on the episode. Perhaps longer if I've edited a little bit of it out, but indeed, it's a little thing, a little catch, just like how Minecraft news and the saying things like series and indeed is kind of become a Far Lands or Bust thing, I suppose. Woof, indeed. Also, the careful Wolfie. That's a thing. I need to make that a t-shirt, I think. New product idea. I don't think I've had that many new products in a long time on the Far Lands or Bust Spreadshirts shop. Plug shirts. So maybe that's a good one. The careful Wolfie. I'll have to consult myself, because I'm the one who makes those products on the website. But anyway, thank you very much, Scoops, Overdose Melon, and Carson, for your donations and your questions. Thank you very much. It seems like you still aren't that familiar with Far Lands or Bust. You might be new, but even so, you decided to help out the cause, so I appreciate it. And I suppose overall, to answer your question, Overdose Melon, what are your current coordinates? Well, your donation helped us get a little bit closer to finding out what our coordinates are, so thank you very much. Indeed. Right, Wolfie? Woof. All right, I'll take that. An anonymous donator asked, what was your high school GPA and class rank? Short answer, I don't remember. Certainly I don't remember the class rank. There were almost 800 or 900 people in my graduating class, so it was a big class, so I don't remember, but it was very middle of the road. Nothing above 4.0 or exemplary like that. I wasn't much into the taking honors classes or, a straight A student. 3.2 maybe, 3.5-ish. Not terrible and not great. It was just middle of the road. I was middle of the road Kurt, basically. Just pretty much pretty forgettable. That was my high school experience, so that is the way that goes. I guess we're halfway through the episode here, I guess is what that... I can go down a little bit of a theme questions here. I get a lot of questions about astronomy, telescopes, things like that. I try. That's obviously one of my interests. Although I should say that I've recently pulled back. I was involved with an astronomy club for quite a while, but I've kind of pulled out of that and handed over the things I was taking care of that to somebody else, just because the time I'm investing in YouTube and stuff. I'm not blaming YouTube, but the time I'm investing here has kind of really taken away from my astronomy. I haven't been observing in a long time. I took a telescope out onto my back porch for a little bit last month or the month before that when Saturn was up nice and high with the moon and things like that, but I've unfortunately pulled back with my involvement in astronomy. I still keep up with science, astronomy news, and space and NASA stuff, but perhaps whenever I figure out how to manage this thing enough, maybe I'll get back into that eventually, but I'm just saying that as a postface to this, because I might not be as sharp as I used to be with astronomy and stuff. But M. Bradley asked, I'm looking to buy a small telescope to attach my DSLR to and need some recommendations. What should I be looking for? To be honest, I would... Astrophotography, as amazing and sexy and awesome as it looks when you see pictures and stuff that amateur astronomers take on the internet, is a very advanced part of astronomy, and I would actually recommend, if you don't already use telescopes, I would recommend you start with optical observations. Just strictly observe, get to know the night sky, and by extension, get to know the equipment and get to know what kind of equipment you like and prefer using, because going straight to photography, especially with the DSLR, you might get a little bit overwhelmed and then off-put by the difficulty factor, and you might get frustrated if you don't know the night sky as well as you would have had you taken some time to observe optically first. So that would be my first recommendation. On top of which, I don't do astrophotography myself. The little that I've done, what little things I've posted to Twitter, have been taken through the eyepiece, just steadily trying to hold a camera or a camera phone, which has very, very mixed and low-quality results, but that's the best I've done. But a few people in the astronomy club I belonged to have done astrophotography. A lot of times, if you really want to get nuts, you have to modify your DSLR. You have to remove... There's a little IR filter in front of the CCD. It's just a little film that you can have removed. But once it gets removed, it pretty much ruins the camera for regular daytime camera use. It's just, once you do that, it's solely an astronomy camera, because there's a little filter there that kind of for real life pictures, filters out some of the UV, the IR rays. I don't know what exactly the technical term is, but in removing that, it makes the CCD a little bit more sensitive and able to pick up some fainter objects and things. So that could get crazy. They make telescopes that have adapters, T-adapters, I think a lot of them are called. Really the simplest telescope you could get would be a refractor. If you're thinking of doing photography, you want to probably get an apochromatic refractor that has, those are usually shown with the ED, an ED lens, extra something dispersion or something like that, as opposed to a achromat. You get a lot of color fringe, and it's not as precise of a lens. So yeah, I would recommend a refractor. That's the ones with the lenses, no mirrors or anything like that, just because you can really a lot of them are built to be piggybacked with a camera sometimes. This is as good a place as any. But then again, yeah, I don't know. I've never really delved into that. So you'll have to, there's plenty of forums and websites that give guides and stuff like that about about astrophotography. You can get special cameras that do astrophotography specifically. Little CCD imagers and filters and that hook up to your computer, and you can do multi-long exposures and blah 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 blah. So it could be a pretty hefty hobby to get into right there. Which I'm afraid I don't know all that much about. So good luck. Good luck indeed. There's plenty of places for you to find better information than what I would ever be able to give you. So anyway, speaking of the stars, it's cloudy. Cloudy! We can't observe today. There's a little sucker hole there. Those are called sucker holes because you go out with your telescope and you're like, oh, I can see something. And then, 5 seconds later, it's gone. By the time you turn your telescope and line it up and align it, it's gone because you're a sucker. But let's go to sleep. And I do have a few more astronomy, telescopy type questions to answer in the morning. And astrophotography-ness. Too close to the microphone a little bit there, maybe-ness. Woof, Wolfie agreed. Let's go swim with some of your pals, Wolfie. These guys are getting awfully close to the sheep. They're on the hunt. That's pretty funny. Ooh, what's this? Absolutely nothing. Don't go that way, guys. You're gonna get in trouble. Similarly, from the comments, I got a question from... hold on, I gotta scroll down a little bit. I have the comments in a lower section. From Mantsgoods. Any advice for someone who just got their first telescope? Go out and observe. Really, I suppose before you go out and observe, you should really get used to your telescope in the daytime, like in your living room or whatever. Because especially if you go out to a dark area, a dark site, you don't want to be using any flashlights or lights or anything like that to preserve your dark adaptation. So you want to get used to putting together, operating, aligning, fixing even your telescope, swapping out eyepieces and things in the dark. So you want to get familiar with doing that stuff in the light so that you can kind of just get punched. There we go. You want to get used to that in the light, which is highly recommended because... Ooh, careful, Wolfie. Because I have, you can see many frustrated people... Oop, I'm going the wrong way. Frustrated people at the dark sites or out observing who are, like, trying to figure out how to put something together, or they drop a screw, or this or that or the other, and that could be easily avoided if you get familiar with your equipment before you really... get too in-depth with things, and just really go out and observe, really, look up star charts and things, and don't try to push yourself too soon, don't go try to find the Veil Nebula right away, because that's a very difficult thing to see. I've barely ever seen that with my 8-inch reflector, excuse me. You need a very large and a very dark sky, large telescope and dark sky for those sort of things. But, find the prominent objects, obviously the planets, the moon, obviously. Oh, that's one thing. Getting aligned, you need a finder scope. You'd be surprised how many people buy their first telescope and they'd be like, I can't even find the moon, even though it's right there, because you need a spotter scope. I recommend the little red dot reticules, kind of like a little gun scope aimer. They have those. The one I have is called a Rigel red dot finder. That's a good one. It's pretty affordable, like $40 about. But you need a good finder. You need to make sure that's aligned and ready to go, so you can just start aiming and going. Because like I said, it's people, when they have magnification on their eyepiece, trying to find even the moon could be an issue for people. But learn where the planets are, try to find those. That's always the first most exciting thing to see through a telescope, and gets your blood boiling, and I want to see more stuff. Finding the bright nebulas like the Ring Nebula or star clusters, stuff like that. Just get out and observe is really what I would suggest. And try to, from your backyard, if you live in a populated area, it might be kind of hard to see stuff with the light pollution, so maybe join an astronomy club who has access to dark sites to get to, or on your own, do your own research, find places that you can legally, with permission, stay up late at night at and set up your telescope at, like I was saying about the astronomy clubs, is ours has arrangements with far outside the city, hour and a half drive, with farmers. There's a lot of farmland out there in the plains of Illinois, and we say, oh, this area, this little clearing in your farm is nice. We're a not-for-profit astronomy club. Can we observe here? And we kind of get permission from them, because there have been occasions when I was out even with a group of people where the police drive by and they see a group of very dark figures on the horizon, and they get very suspicious. So you have to make sure you have permission from the owners to be doing what you're doing. And stuff like that. And a lot of like forest preserves and things don't allow you to stay there past sunset. So, excuse me, it helps to have a dark spot to say, oh, this is, astronomy from the backyard is nice, but from being able to see the Milky Way, and you can see Andromeda Galaxy naked eye and stuff like that, makes it an entirely different experience. Just get out, observe, find things. Maybe join an astronomy club. They can help you out with certain questions you might have, or join a web forum or something. Find objects and things. So, and it's also just, speaking of finding objects, when you do go out to observe, do some research beforehand and have a list of things you want to observe. Because if you just go out at night and you're like, okay, now what? There's really no plan. It's good to have a list of the things that you're for sure are easy enough to find and bright enough to see on that night at that time or whatever. It helps instead of just aimlessly hunting the sky for stuff. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Nomadic Song asked in the comments, what kind of telescopes do you own? I now own, I know I've said this before, but since the last time I've talked about this, I have acquired another piece of equipment. I have not been a very good shopper, or a good saver of money. I have, like I mentioned, an 8-inch reflector, a Dobsonian telescope. It's from Orion. It's the basic XT8 model. That's the one that has an 8-inch diameter mirror in the back. Sits on the ground, very stable, very good first telescope. That's the telescope that was recommended to me over and over by people in the astronomy club. I first joined the astronomy club to try to find out what telescope I should buy, and through that's how I came to that conclusion. Woof. After that, I perhaps somewhat misguidedly purchased a 6-inch Maksudov Cassegrain telescope. And then what I should have done with that was bought a more heavy-duty mount, but I bought a mount. It was well within the range of yes, this telescope will work on this mount, but the telescope is very heavy. A Maksudov Cassegrain telescope has a mirror on the back, but a big lens in the front. So the Cassegrain style telescopes bounce the light around a couple times. They're a little bit more compact, but because of all the glass in there, it's actually pretty heavy. And it's actually an excellent telescope. Very crisp, clear images. Very good for planetary. That's what I wanted, something to observe the planets. I really like the planets. So you get a lot of magnification, a small depth of field because of that. So it's not very good at the large objects like galaxies and fainter things, but an excellent telescope. But that's one that I do have to find somebody else's hands to get them into, so I'm going to be looking to my astronomy club to see if anybody wants to buy it off of me. So that's how that's going to go. And no, I've mentioned that before. People, whoa, why don't you post it up on your YouTube channel, and then maybe somebody will buy it here. No, it's not something I want to pass off to somebody who isn't into astronomy. Even it's a little bit too advanced for me. Like I said, the mount I have for it isn't enough. I'll have to, it requires another $500, $600, $700 mount, a very sturdy mount in order to get the most out of it. A tracking mount, equatorial motorized mount would be nice. Maybe even go-to, but yeah, I'll have to do that. But in the meantime, even though I told myself I would sell this telescope before getting another telescope, I did get a refractor. That's the one with the lenses, the very basic. Whenever you say telescope, that's the style of telescope people imagine you finding. But on a classifieds place, I found a refractor, an 80 millimeter. That's the diameter of the lens. I did go with, even though I'm not doing photography, an ED, an apochromatic lens. There's kind of a budget apochromatic. This is a doublet. That means there's two lens elements that kind of try to cancel out the poor color and things like that. The really good ones are triplets, which have three lens elements, but those are in the thousands of dollars. So I got a doublet refractor, an 80 millimeter, and that's the one I went out with a couple months ago, and it's very good. It has a much wider field of view. It's much lighter. It pairs very well with my mount that I have, the tripod. So instead of upgrading my mount and keeping the Maksudov Cassegrain, I've downgraded the telescope and kept the tripod. So yeah, those are my telescopes that I have, and I of course have a collection, about a handful of. Let's build our hidey hole in this little place here. Oh, this reminds me of the time I got lost early on in Far Lands or Bust. It's like episode 4 or 5 or something like that. And I dug into a corner that was kind of like by a lake. I think it was in a snowy area. Maybe not. It might not have been in a snowy area. But this just kind of reminded me of that. Memories. What was I saying? Yeah, that's my telescope collection. And yeah, don't, if you're looking to buy your first telescope, don't just budget for the telescope. You're going to also want to eventually, anyway, if you don't get something with a starter kit, get eyepieces. Like I said, that finder, that red dot finder might be $40 or so. If it doesn't come with a mount, you need a tripod and mount that's good and stable. You'll also want to get like a little red light flashlight that you can use so you don't ruin your night vision. And it's not just the telescope. There's some additional stuff to go with it that will help with your astronomical experience. But yeah, a little bit of theme questions. There's a lot more astronomy and things that I could be asking or answering, but I'll get to those. I feel kind of bad. I kind of jump around with questions, and there are a few questions in this list that have been in here for, honestly, a couple months. So fear not if you have not got... Oop, I accidentally hit caps lock. If you have not had your question answered, it's probably still in my list. I just haven't found either a proper answer or a proper... time to answer it quite just yet. But I will, and perhaps it will be in the next episode, which is the next time I will see you guys on Monday in Far Lands or Bust. I do appreciate you following along this far. All those little thumbs up help. I know I don't remind you guys often enough, but those really help. I do notice waves of interest in Far Lands or Bust. It goes up and down and up and down, and I'm fine with that. Like I said, this is the one series regardless of how the rest of my YouTube channel is going, that I would want to continue on regardless. So I do appreciate you guys at least showing your continued support. That always makes me feel good inside. And continued support for Child's Play charity. That's the most important thing over at farlandsarbust.com. I do appreciate it so much. Next week, in a week, we'll be at PAX. So we'll have to talk a lot about that next week. I look forward to that. My name is Kurt. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time.